Good morning, this is Andrew picking from Man Beat Strongman events. Of course, it was Rotherham Highland Games 2023, a week after the Peak District Highland Games as well. Always falls like that, but what a show that was on Sunday in terms of the athlete field we had. We had 14 competitors in this. We had a lot of new competitors as well in terms of man-based events, which shakes it about a bit as well as some of our loyal competitors that we have in as well. So just running through some of the events and some of the highlights from it. So there was no weight categories in this. It was accessible to opens competitors, under 105s, and we even had Sam Watson in, who was a really light competitor, but what a hell of a show he had, just proving that it isn't always about size if you've trained correctly and you've got those strength levels. So the events were 5 events for the Highland Games. We had the log press at around about 100 kilo for reps. We had the caber toss for distance, 3 attempts. We had the stone throw for distance, about 22 kilo stone, 3 attempts again. We had the Husserfeld stone at 140 kilos as well. That proving really difficult on the day, but we had some standout performances. And then we finished off with the 80 kilo Atlas stone to shoulder, as many reps as you can in 90 seconds. So the eventual winner of this was Terry Harrison. Hightower, as his nickname is, hails from Lincoln. We had a hell of a contingent from Lincoln. We probably had about 5 competitors in from over Lincoln anyway. But Terry Harrison took the win, 59 points. He had a really good show all the way throughout, pretty consistent as well. There was only 1 point between 3 competitors, Stevie Speakman and Anton Elkin, after the 4th event. So it was the Atlas Stone that split that and enabled him to get that 5-point lead on Stevie Speakman. So he finished on 59 points. He's the new Rotherham Highland Games champion. He came into this to practice and refine his technique from the Peak District Highland Games. That was his first appearance in that last week. So he came to this to have a sort of practice and just refine his technique and actually take in the win. He just suits this. He's 6'7", 6'8", really tall. I've had some comments before on our social media about Terry looking lanky. I can tell you now he isn't lanky and he's certainly not strong. He's incredibly strong and he suits all these events. He was good at the throwing events, and he really surprised me on the Atlas Stone hold. I've not seen Terry before rolling up the Atlas Stone to the shoulder. He didn't start as fast as some of the guys, but he didn't get tired. So we were just able to grind out rep after rep, which got him the win. So well done there, Terry Harrison, another specialist in these events as well. And I thought Terry would do pretty well in this, but if you'd have really pushed me on who's going to take this, I probably would have said Stevie Speakman, although there was some athletes near that I wasn't aware of that could have been really good as well. So Stevie got 54 points, joining 54 points with Anton Elkin. Stevie got 2nd place on the last event because it got more, so that's how we split those two. But Stevie's really good at natural implements as well. You know, he's a thick set guy. He's brilliant on the stone run. I mean, he did come behind Terry Harrison on that, but he was the 2nd quickest time on that, and he even had time to showboat after as well, which we love that at Man Beast, and the crowd love it as well. So we love a showboater, to be fair. He stood there holding that. He didn't drop it at the line, couldn't wait to drop it. He just looked round at the crowd and gave him a great big smile and kept holding on to it. He probably could have done another lap, to be honest, but there we go. So Stevie Speakman, again, if you want to look at a consistently good performance throughout, he's the guy to watch, because he didn't really drop too many points, which kept him in podium contention all the time. Anton Elkin, I thought he was great, you know. He drew sort of level with Stevie Speakman, got 3rd place in the end. He was another great competitor. Again, just consistent there or thereabouts, 1 point between them going into 3 and 4 for the top 3 places. Didn't really drop either. He was on the podium spot all the time, as was Speakman and as was Harrison as well. So those 3, it was a battle between those 3 really. I thought Anton Elkin had a really good showing, positive to have on the show. Carl Briggs and all. Carl Briggs, so he sat 5 points behind Anton in the end on 49 points. Carl Briggs, great competitor, as they all were. You know, it makes our life easier at Man Beast when you've got competitors that are easy to work with, and they all threw themselves into it. For a lot of these guys, they were completely new events and not done it before, so it was learn on the job style. Carl Briggs crowd pleaser as well. You know, he's raring up the crowd and everything like that. And it's good. We had a good crowd as well at Rotherham. 46 points, Joe Smith again, good showing. Only 3 points behind Carl Briggs. Joe was another good one for me. It did really well on all of the events. To be fair, dropped a couple of points, but again, fairly consistent throughout. Sam Watson. I mean, you'll have to look at Sam and you look at some of the other guys in the athlete list, and he looked half the size of some of the really big guys. But I tell you something, it didn't affect his performance because he still got a solid 39 points and got 6th. And I thought that were absolutely brilliant. And that will be, you know, sort of no training again like the rest of them. So he comes in, light competitor, did really well on the stone, Atlas stone to shoulder as well. I didn't know how he'd do on that. And he was just able to keep grinding out reps on that, which got him some good points that he really earned that place, as did all the Andrew Bainbridge. Well, he hadn't competed for about 2 years, I don't think, and actually he helped out at Rotherham Highland Games last year as part of the crew. Just it was helping Mark in terms of turning the events over and stuff like that. Tickled his fancy to give it a crack, and he had a really good showing. He was good on throwing events as well. Was Andrew. So he got 35 points, joint 7th place with Gas Taylor. Pretty similar story to Andrew, actually. Big G, Gas, quite notorious on the strongman scene locally a couple of years ago. Doesn't really train half as much as what he used to. Certainly doesn't enter any competitions, but he does come into this sometimes, came in short notice. And he got 35 points as well, joining with Andrew Bainbridge. So Big G again, and he was the first one on the stone run to actually complete the 2 laps. And then there was a couple of other guys after him that did the same, but he was the first one because the first couple were dropping that before the 40 metres as well. So that was a good showing by Big G. Rich Hiley, another one, comes out of retirement. He's lit the fire in a few of these guys, I think. As soon as you come back on a fairly big comp, and Rotherham is to be fair, we've got quite a good crowd there as well. It ignites that fire back, and we saw that in Rich. And actually, Rich was really good with stone run. He did pretty well. I thought he deserved to complete the full 2 laps of that stone run, and he did one. He was super fast. He was the fastest out of the blocks in the first 4 or 5. Turned round, he looked comfortable, and he just, I don't know whether he stumbled or he just lost his grip and dropped the stone probably 3/4 of the way down the 2nd lap. So that were unfortunate because he's good on that event. So I thought Rich did really well again. He got 33 points. Steve Day, another one coming in. He absolutely loved it. He was telling me after the competition, he thought it was great. You know, it's sort of a mix of a bit of fun, these Highland Games, but it's competitive as well at the same time. So you get to try different stuff. It's not the usual strongman stuff that you see in most strongman comps, which can get a bit stale after a while. So you throw a Highland Games event in with these different events, such as throwing. It splits up the heavier events, and it can split the field as well. So Steve Day did really well on this show, and he came 9th. In 10th, Paul Harrett as well. So Paul did well in this as well. So he came over from Lincoln. Again, new event for him, good, competing against a really competitive field here as well. So even though it's 10th place, there were some strong guys in this as well, and there were some surprises as well in this list. And then on 11th place with 24 points was Dave Johnson, quality bloke, came in again, competed at Matlock last week, come back off of surgery, etc., etc. He's wanting to get back into it. He's another one of messages was saying, I'm back stronger next year, etc. And he's always good entertainment, and definitely got the best haircut as well with his Mohican and everything else. He got 24 points. 10 points, Justin Beedham. So best wishes to Justin there. I think he felt his bicep go. It was the sound of a Velcro tear or injury. So he did the right thing and called it on that, called the competition on that, and came out of it. But it's great to see Justin back on the local scene as well. He was doing pretty well with that, but you've got to respect the body. And you've got to know when to push it and when just to step back. He did the right thing there. And as with Dave Hanson as well, he was a new competitor in terms of some of our shows. He competed in the bus pull about 3 years ago, actually. He's been throwing himself into all sorts of competitions, from intermediate now into opens as well, trying different ones. Came into this again. He had an injury. I think his was bicep as well, I believe. But he felt something he wasn't quite happy with. So again, he pulled out of it, but he did complete around about 3 events on that. So that's the roundup. Those are the standings. So Terry Harrison is the new Rotherham Highland Games 2023 champion, and I hope Terry keeps at Highland Games style events as well as his strongman mix, because he's got all the physical attributes to be pretty good. And remember, even at the Peak District Highland Games, he was just outside the podium on his first ever attempt with that, and did a lot better on some of the events than I thought, such as the Dinny Stone hold. I thought might be a struggle for him, and it looked it when he picked it up, but then he just eased his way into it and he did really well. So, and then he steals the show on this in terms of taking the win. And again, I think Stevie Speakman's probably he's earned a spot, I think, probably at Peak District Highland Games, other competitions next year, if he can do it, if it doesn't clash with your social calendar, Stevie. So yeah, that's the roundup of the Rotherham Highland Games. The next show is down in Essex at Highland Estate as part of Country Life show. So we've got a 2-day show there, Saturday 16th, Sunday the 17th of September. So we have a women's competition on the Saturday, and then we go into an intermediate strongman competition on the Sunday, and that'll be a mix again of strongman events, and we will have a few Highland Games events in there. So we'll have a caber toss and we'll have the stone throw. So 2 more weeks and we're back at it again.